Donald Trump's rally in North Carolina last night was business as usual. And by that, I mean it was as ridiculous and deranged as ever. It had everything that you would expect out of a Trump rally. The yelling, the screaming, the grievance, the meltdowns, the attacks on not only Kamala Harris, but President Obama for some reason. It was everything that you would expect. But what was unexpected, and what I think a lot of people missed last night, is the special guest Donald Trump brought out on stage and what happened after. And it really reveals the state of the Trump campaign, how scared they are, how much they are flailing for one specific reason. And that's that Kamala Harris continues to overperform with Republican voters. Now, of course, she is out campaigning with Liz Cheney right now, and there are several former Trump officials coming out against Donald, and so they are scared. And so Donald Trump's special surprise guest was Tulsi Gabbard. And when she came up on stage, something shocking happened, again, that a lot of people missed, that really shows where the Trump campaign is at, and it's not good for them. And it was weird, and we're going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way. It really means the world to me. Now, like I said, this is a surprise, kind of, for Tulsi Gabbard, but before we get into what happened, I think it makes sense to check out this clip of Kamala Harris and Tulsi Gabbard during a Democratic primary debate.
I think that it's unfortunate that we have someone on the stage who is attempting to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, who during the Obama administration spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama.
That's
who
ridiculous,
has spent full-time,
That's
who has
ridiculous.
spent full-time criticizing people on this stage as affiliated with the Democratic Party. When Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, buddied up to Steve Bannon to get a meeting with Donald Trump in the Trump Tower, fails to call a war criminal by what he is as a war criminal, and then spends full time during the course of this campaign, again, criticizing the Democratic Party. What we need on the stage in November is someone who has the ability to win. And by that, we need someone on that stage who has the ability to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump, and someone who has the ability to rebuild the Obama coalition and bring the party and the nation together. I believe I am that candidate.
Thank you, Senator.
Yes.
Congresswoman Gabbard, I'll give you a chance to respond.
What Senator Harris is doing is unfortunately continuing to traffic in lies and smears and innuendos, because she cannot challenge the substance of the argument that I'm making, the leadership and the change that I'm seeking to bring in our foreign policy, which only makes me guess that she will, as president, continue the status quo, continue the Bush-Clinton-Trump foreign policy of regime change wars, which is deeply destructive. This is personal to me because I served in Iraq. I left my seat in the state legislature in Hawaii, volunteered to deploy to Iraq, where I served in a medical unit where every single day I saw the terribly high human cost of war. I take very seriously the responsibility that the president has to serve as commander-in-chief, to lead our armed forces, and to make sure always, no, I'm not going to put party interests first. I will put the interests of the American people above all else.
Thank you, Congresswoman. I want to briefly give Senator Harris a final second to respond.
I believe that what our nation needs right now is a nominee who can speak to all people. I spent my entire career standing mostly in a courtroom speaking 5 words, Kamala Harris for the people. And it was about all the people, regardless of their race, regardless of their gender, regardless of where they live geographically, regardless of the party with which they're registered to vote or the language their grandmother speaks. We need someone on this debate stage in November who has the ability to unify the country and to win the election. And I believe, again, I am that candidate.
So clearly there is a relationship between the two there. There's not a happy relationship. And obviously since that moment, since the 2019 debate, since the 2020 Democratic primary, we have seen a shift in Tulsi Gabbard, to say the least. I remember Hillary Clinton putting it quite frankly and saying that she thought Tulsi Gabbard was a Russian asset, and that appears more true every single day as Tulsi Gabbard aligns herself with Donald Trump and the rest of the Republican Party, calling herself a former Democrat, in the same way that RFK Jr. is a former Democrat. Sure, I don't really trust you on that title, and clearly that title isn't true because of the announcement she made at Donald Trump's rally, and we're going to get into a little bit more of it.
And it is because of my love for our country, and specifically because of the leadership that President Trump has brought to transform the Republican Party and bring it back to the party of the people and the party of peace, that I'm proud to stand here with you today, President Trump, and announce that I'm joining the Republican Party. I'm joining the party of the people, the party of equality, the party that was founded to fight against and end slavery in this country. It is the party of common sense and the party that is led by a president.
So Tulsi Gabbard announcing that she's a new Republican now. She's joining the GOP. But did anyone ever really think that you were a Democrat? You've been parading around with Republicans for years. You spoke at the RNC. You've endorsed Donald Trump. You were maybe on the short list to be his VP. Who thinks that you're a Democrat? No one. But what it does show is that Donald Trump needs a Democrat to pretend to endorse him. Donald Trump knows that Kamala Harris is winning so much Republican support that he needs to try to balance it out. But no one thinks Tulsi Gabbard is a Democrat. We know Liz Cheney is a Republican now. And so this stunt is completely backfiring, especially because of how much Tulsi Gabbard has been crushed by all those surrogates for Kamala Harris. Another great example of that comes with this clip of her and Pete Buttigieg right here.
Came from your recent careless statement about how you as president would be willing to send our troops to Mexico to fight the cartels. As commander-in-chief, leader of our armed forces, I bring extensive experience serving for 7 years in Congress, on the Foreign Affairs Committee, on the Armed Services Committee, on the Homeland Security Committee, meeting with leaders of countries around the world, working with military commanders of different commands, dealing with high-level national security briefings, understanding what's necessary, the preparation that I've gotten to walk in on day one to serve as Commander-in-Chief.
Congresswoman, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'll allow you to respond.
I know that it's par for the course in Washington to take remarks out of context, but that is outlandish even by the standards of today's politics.
Are you saying that you didn't say that?
I was talking about U.S.-Mexico cooperation. We've been doing security cooperation with Mexico for years, with law enforcement cooperation and a military relationship that could continue to be developed with training relationships, for example. Do you seriously think anybody on this stage is proposing invading Mexico?
That's not
I'm
what
talking
I said.
about
That's not
building
what I
up.
said.
I'm talking about building up alliances. And if your question is about experience, let's also talk about judgment. One of the foreign leaders you mentioned meeting was Bashar al-Assad. I have, in my experience, such as it is, whether you think it counts or not, since it wasn't accumulated in Washington, enough judgment that I would not have sat down with a murderous dictator like that.
Just a perfect takedown by Pete Buttigieg, as always. But like I was saying before, this is just an effort to pretend that there is some big tent coalition behind Donald Trump when that is just not the case. There are no establishment Democrats coming out in favor of Donald Trump. Tulsi Gabbard is not a Democrat. But again, they're just trying to balance out the Liz Cheney, the John Kelly, the Mark Milley, the Nikki Haley voters. And they're trying to, I guess, create some media narrative around that. But it's not going to work. But what will is Liz Cheney's call out of Trump right here.
I will just end this by saying, and I also know, because I have spent time with Vice President Harris, because I have come to understand what she believes about how she will govern, that she will be a president for all Americans, that she's committed to listening and committed to having viewpoints, some of which, come from different ends of the political spectrum. And if you think about how you conduct, your life outside of politics, how we all conduct our everyday lives, those are the kinds of people that you trust. Those are the kinds of people you can work with. Like if you wouldn't hire somebody to babysit your kids, you shouldn't make that guy the president of the United States.
This is about putting country over party, something Liz Cheney understands and something that Tulsi Gabbard doesn't, because she's not in the Democratic Party. And what she clearly is trying to put over anything else is herself. Much like J.D. Vance, much like Donald Trump, all she cares about is her personal ambition and what will serve her pursuit of power the most. That's what she's after. It's incredibly clear. But again, this is just a stunt to distract from the fact that Kamala Harris is winning more Republican support than even President Biden did. And that terrifies Donald Trump as he continues to get called out by not just Kamala Harris, but his own Republican officials, as Kamala Harris talked about right here.
Including his intention to be a dictator on day one, his intention to weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies, and then you just look at what the people who know him best and worked with him in the Oval Office and the White House have said about him, which is he is unfit to serve and would be dangerous if he were president again. And he, even by the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, has been called a fascist to his core, I am quoting. So what we are talking with folks about today is what I've been talking with folks about since I've been on the campaign trail these last 70-odd days.
The people closest to Donald Trump know how dangerous he is. That should tell us everything we need to know. And it's not just what we need to know, it's what we need to continue to talk about. Because again, those soft Republicans, those right-leaning independents are still such a big group of voters that we can possibly win. It's why Kamala Harris went on Fox. It's why she's out campaigning with Liz Cheney. And it's why we need to continue to talk about this every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.